Welcome back, folks, to episode 2 of our journey through Crusaders of the Dark Savant. Before we continue on our brave adventurers trip in Lost Guardia, I'd like to take a look at what's behind the screen or underneath the hood of this game. Wizardry 7 was originally released back in 1992, and it is certainly a product of its time. Now, I had first bought Wizardry 7 back in the summer of 97 or maybe 98. It came in a pack with a bunch of other CD games, and I can't remember what those other games were, but I'm pretty sure I bought the package for one of those other games. Um, since it was a multi-pack where I got Wizardry from, there was no manual with it, but there was like a README or some other kind of a notepad file on the CD. Um, so it was kind of to my detriment not having a manual. Back in '92, one of the most important things of a game was to read the manual, and for an in-depth computer role-playing game like Wizardry 7, that was absolutely no exception to that rule. Now, while my family did have internet access back at the time, it was dial-up, and there was no way that tying up our family's phone line to get online and to look up a walkthrough or any kind of hints for this silly video game was going to fly. So I was playing this kind of blind at the time. And since I was a 18 or 19-year-old guy at the time, and my only real RPG experience was either playing Dungeons and Dragons with other people or something on the Nintendo, I was not ready for the intensity of what I was in store for here. So I'd like to just take a little time to go into the manual and then into the hint book also, just to kind of give a little more background for you, the viewer, as to what kind of information you would have had going into the game at that time. So let's take a read through of the story here at the beginning of the manual. With the disappearance of the Cosmic Forge, a pen with the power to alter destiny, the Cosmic Lords had temporarily lost their ability to completely control the fate and destiny of the universe. In an unexpected occurrence far out in space, a miner's ship, lost due to a navigational malfunction after being attacked by space pirates, stumbled upon a small world which was uncharted on any map of the known galaxy. As it so happens, the Cosmic Lords were aware of the presence of this small planet and had safeguarded its existence by using the Forge to prevent any discovery by outside worlds. But once the Forge was stolen by the Bane King and Sorphidius the Wizard, the story of Bane of the Cosmic Forge, the planet's obscure position in space would no longer be protected from discovery. When the miner's vessel returned to its own homeworld, news of the discovery began to spread. It was rumored to be the planet of Foonsang, Lost Guardia by legend, and the secret resting place of the famed Astral Domine, Foonsang's only known record of his final and greatest discovery. The legend of the Astral Domine dates back to a prior millennium. It tells of a great artist and scientific genius, Foonsang, and his discovery of some deep secret rumored to regard the power of the universe and life itself. Foonsang decided this secret was too powerful for anyone else to know, for if it could create a universe, it could also destroy one. So he was faced with a choice, either destroy his discovery, his life's work, or hide it in such a way that it would not fall into unscrupulous hands. He opted for the latter, knowing that a day might come when the secret could be safely revealed and the universe could ascend towards a new destiny. The legend continues that he created a stellar globe called the Astral Domine and encrypted his secret therein. Using the power of this secret, he created a new world, Guardia, designed to safeguard his work. He himself had become a god, for his was the power of life itself. And as he created the planet, he also created creatures to live there and protect his secret. Entombing the astral domine somewhere in this world, he made a map consisting of many parts and then spread the parts throughout the lands of this world. Convinced that his secret was secure, Funzang disappeared forever. With the discovery of the lost planet, Lost Guardia, news traveled fast that the legendary tomb of Funzang's last work, the Astral Domine, was a reality. But while there are many who might covet the great secret, only a few have the power and resources to undertake its recovery. One of these is an enigmatic traveler of the stars, known only as the Dark Savant. Navigating all frontiers of space in his legendary black ship, not much is known of the Dark Savant except that he is considered by most worlds to be one of the most powerful entities alive, pledging alliance to no one but himself. At the forefront of all known galactic worlds, two rival species dominate the space trade. First, the militaristic Umpani, a lawful race of stout pachyderms who, while considered to have the greatest assemblage of military power in the galaxy, are known to be fair and reliable traders. Second, there is the feared and unscrupulous Terang, a repulsive spider-like race who will do anything if the buyer is willing to pay the price. While the Terang can never be fully trusted, they still manage to control the greatest trading network in the galaxy, surpassing even that of the Yumpani. The Terang will stop at nothing to procure what they seek and have always fulfilled their contracts, no matter how dirty the deed. Naturally, then, the Yumpani and the Terang are strict competitors and strongly detest each other. It is suspected by some, however, that certain alliances exist between the two that prevent any third parties from entering the space trade picture, thereby strengthening the suspected cartel which, in turn, keeps the prices of their wares profitably on the high side. There is a rumor that the Terang are actually in the service of the Dark Savant, who has held a long-standing contract with them to find Funzang's missing world. Naturally, then, if the Terang are involved, the Umpani won't be far behind. For it needn't be said that the affair would bode them no good fortune should the Terang obtain the Astral Domine. No good at all. There is one other Vi Domina, a young girl with a reputation of being a rather fierce and deadly warrior, that who is also rumored to be a far distant descendant of Funzang himself. Her lineage was traced by the Terang to repay a favor to the Dark Savant, and she was taken into his custody shortly thereafter. It is unknown whether her connection to the Dark Savant is willing or coerced, but it appears the Dark Savant believes she may hold some yet unsuspected key to unlocking the secret of the Astral Domine. The lands are also populated with a variety of native suns, and although they appear to be simple and primitive, there are indications that a great technological civilization may have evolved on Lost Guardia in the ages since the planet was created by Funzang. It is not known what role, if any, they may play in uncovering the Astral Domine, or what secrets they may hold for those who venture in from outside worlds. And, with the startling appearance of travelers from the stars, some have begun to suspect that their own legends may be unfolding, and the prophesied end of the world is at hand. These then that inhabit the world of Lost Guardia, and play a role in the quest of the Astral Domine. Thus it is that our party of brave adventurers shall set foot on Lost Guardia, and enter into Crusaders of the Dark Savant. So, one of the most important parts of playing the game is to find these map pieces. Um, However, if you didn't read the introductory fiction here, you would have no clue as to maps or what their importance could possibly be. Um, so, reading the manual back in 1992 was always super important. Um, One thing I think that is interesting about this game is that we, the player characters here, are an invading force. We are a bunch of adventurers from some other planet who just arrived here and are going to stir up trouble looking for some mysterious astral domine. Now, the manual itself is pretty par for the course at the time. Gives you a little bit of information about, what a role-playing game is and tells you about creating a party. Um, this is a feature that takes up a good number of pages in the clue book also, how to create the right party. Um, One interesting thing is that if you are importing a party from Wizardry 6, the Bane of the Cosmic Forge, depending on how you finished that game, or if you're importing a party that did not finish the game, you will start in a different part of the map in Wizardry 7. Of course, importing a party, your characters are going to have a couple levels on any new party, and you could be bringing over some of the most powerful items that were in the previous game, making your adventures in Wizardry 7 far easier. Um, but since we are playing with a new party who is not being imported in, we will get to experience the full force of Wizardry 7's difficulty. Um, the manual continues talking about stats for your characters, armor class, and one of the most fun features, and I say that with most sarcasm there, is the status effects. Welcome to Lost Guardia. Your party could be suffering, being afraid, asleep. You could be blinded, poisoned, stoned, insanitied, dead. I guess you could also have irritation. That is another status effect. There's nausea. Oh, look, here we go. More of them. The nausea, paralyzed, irritation, or diseased. Um, One thing to note is that the disease icon and the nausea icon look exactly the same in the game. I do not know if Mr. Forte has changed that or not um, in his game mod, but we will see that. Some information about magic system here, equipment, inventory management, changing professions. That is an item I'll talk a little bit more when we get into the clue book, because that has a great bearing on how the game goes. Then we get to talk about non-player characters. I know some discussion was already had in the introductory story about the Terang and the Umpani and a little bit about the Dark Savant. And we saw some of those characters being introduced also in the opening cutscene from last session when we started the game. But there's some more information about them, about the Umpani there, the Terang, which that photo of the Terang there makes them look even more horribly vicious than they are when we see them in game. Then some of the native creatures, the monks, the Danes, the Gorns, Ratkins, and the Helizoids. We will all be meeting those characters as we play through the game. There's a little bit of interacting with non-player characters. A few hints here about how to adventure in the game itself. Some more information about magic here, how to maneuver. Locked doors, resting and saving the game, always important. Saving a lot quicker on modern hardware. Save scumming is a time-honored tradition in the Wizardry series, and well, not having to use a removable floppy disk to save a game means that it goes a lot faster when you need to reload. I will not be creating multiple save states. I'll just use one game and I'll save scum off that one file as much as we need to. Locked doors and chests are an interesting situation. We talk about locked doors. In addition to picking a lock, there's forcing a lock, um, which we probably won't be trying to force a lock very much. And there are the traps and chests. I had no idea what this was when I was originally playing the game. Again, the document I was looking at did not have any pictures in it. It was just a text file. And so I was very lost. And I had many an instance where my entire party was blown up by a trapped chest. But reading the manual here, it shows exactly what the thing looks like, the interface, and it makes a whole lot more sense once you actually can see a picture of what it is. Of course, you could always just use a spell to unlock a chest or a locked door, as long as it's not a locked door that needs a special key to open. But again, we'll try to use the old-fashioned way of picking a lock. There's a bit of talk about combat here, modifiers of different ways of attacking an enemy. Depending on what weapon you have, you might have different options. And other weapons might not have any options at all. They can only take one kind of a swing. And we have much more in-depth talk about the magic system here. Spell lists for all the different spheres of magic. You have your fire magic, your earth magic, your mental magic, divine magic, water magic, and air magic. And then there are four different types of not spell schools, but I guess four different spell lists. Let's say you have one for alchemists, one for your priests, one for your psychics, and one for your mages. And each of them has a different combination of spells in each of the 6 different elements. Now, I know that Mr. Forte has changed up the spell lists a little bit from what the base game is with his mod, so we will not be referring to the spell lists too much here. Then we have some appendices about character races and character classes. As I said previously, all of my characters are humans, just because they have a well-rounded attribute distribution there. Nothing is super low, nothing is super high. Makes it easier for them to class change. in the future. And here's the information about classes. A breakdown of all the skills that we have in the game. I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to talking about the characters that we've built and how I'm planning on class changing them. Just make a note, though, that we will not be getting the Scout skill because we are going to use my knowledge of the game and the walkthroughs and clue book to find hidden things. So we don't need that skill. We will not be picking legerdemain because we are not going to pick any pockets of NPCs. If we need to have something that an NPC's got, we will just kill the NPC and take it. That's not going to be a very common thing, but I'm sure we'll do that to 2, maybe 3 NPCs as we go through the game. Swimming, as it explicitly states here, a character with fewer than 10 skill points will drown when entering deep waters. And it's not just entering deep waters, they'll just drown by touching water. I just have this picture of them walking along the beach and dipping a toe in the water and then all of a sudden just keeling over. It is that bad in this game. So that's kind of a skill point tax on you that you need to stick certain points in swimming just to avoid instant character death. We'll also be sticking a few points in climbing because there is one section of the game when the climbing skill is important. A little bit further information about more skills, personal skills. As we adventure through the game here, every character is going to get firearms and every character is going to gain mind control. And these other 4 skills in the middle there, there are certain items you can obtain in the game, and using those items will give one of your characters that skill. So we will have one character with reflection and one with snake speed, one with eagle eye, one with power strike, and 2 characters who do not have any other personal skills. Customer support, I don't think that's really valid anymore, but it's, it was in the manual. And of course, a few little hints here. I guess good information for anyone who hadn't played it before. Of course, you have to advertise the hint book to the software that you just purchased, and there we go. They've got an appendix and an index in the back, and plenty of room for notes. And that is the manual. What we've got next here is the strategy guide. And the strategy guide is a real interesting thing. It's got information about every monster, every item in the game. It covers every zone that is not an exterior part of the map. We'll get to the table of contents here. You can see it's got a good long section about how to make a party of characters here. Some basic hints about adventuring and combat. It gives you a breakdown about where you start depending on importing a party or not. And then it's got maps, and not only the maps, but it's got like every bit of text you would see in the game for these zones also. So if you walked on a square and there was a description of something in the game, here in the hint book, it tells you exactly what the game would tell you when you step on that square. So that's all very helpful information, especially because it also tells you what item to use on a square to get a certain block of text. Um, so I just like to take a look here at the creating a party section, um, because it is very intense and in depth. And as you see, it's a good 10% of the entire hint book is just making a party. It talks about races and certain things that you need, certain roles that you need to have fulfilled in a party, or according to them, certain roles you need to have filled in a party. Again, uh, we're not really going to do too much in the thieving other than lock picking, so we don't need a pickpocket. We don't need anyone in the scouting department. We don't even really need anyone in the diplomacy department, um, just because we're not really going to mess around with the NPCs too much. Like I said, we're not going to try to kill anyone unless we absolutely need to, and we will try to time that killing to be less disadvantageous to us. Like if we need to interact with someone else in that NPC's faction, we won't try to kill the NPC until after we've dealt with his faction. Um, so there are some roles, that they identify that we're not really going to look at. They have quite a bit of hints here, and then they've got a section where they've got a few writers, um, who give their own opinions of what kind of party they would make in the game. So a good old section leader from the Gamers Forum and the CompuServe Information Services. A member of the Prodigy Bane of the Cosmic Forge users group. And Jim Schobert, who is the inspiration behind Brother to Schober, an NPC in the game, who is a tester. They all give their own party information. Mr. Rob Wiehlander, another QA tester, gives his take on Are Thieves Even Necessary? More talk about bards. Since bards have an unlimited spell use with their magical instruments, they are very useful for a beginning party. Um, there were a few mentions of this in the user's manual also. Um, I've said that Mr. Forte in his mod has kept the bard's musical instrument ability, but he has stripped out the spell casting ability from bards. So in this mod that we are playing, they are a little less useful as a party gets more powerful. But I figure that Mr. Forte has probably tried to rebalance that somewhat. I do believe that I had read in one of his patch notes that he had added more musical instruments into the game. So we will see how that works out with the bard in our party. But we'll be class changing that character to something else uh, as we move along anyway. And then we've got designing your own party. They kindly give you a grid down here to identify how your group scores. So our fighter, and our thief all have fighting abilities. Our priest fulfills the healing box. Our mage fills the damage box. Our thief ticks off the thieving box. The mage has the mage spells, and the priest has the priest spells. So you see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the boxes checked. If we went by their matrix up here and we kept this party configuration the entire time, I'd say that we had an easy time creating them, and we'll have an easy time to maintain them. We'll have medium power in the short term and low power in the long term, meaning we'd have a very hard time playing the game. When we look at class changing, eventually we are going to change our fighter into a Valkyrie and our other fighter into a Valkyrie. Our thief will be a ninja. Our bard will change classes a couple times, wind up as a bard again. Our priest will go to a Valkyrie and our mage will become a samurai. After we do that, everyone will have fighting abilities. Everyone will have some healing abilities. Everyone would have damaging abilities. I maybe missed an X here. I think this other fighter should also have some damaging abilities in the future. Our thief will still have thieving abilities, and as I'm planning to change everyone into a class that can cast mage spells at some point, everyone will have mage spells. I have a bunch of people with priest spells. We'll have some that have some alchemist spells, some psychic spells, and everyone will pick up the ability to do critical hits. So once we've got this all counted in here, we've got 19 points, 24, 27, 36 points. We are way more than very hard to create, very hard to maintain, and unbelievable power. So I feel pretty good about that. I've also just, for my own sake here, made some notes. My first fighter is going to have mapping skills. My second fighter is going to have artifact skills. The thief is going to pick up some scribing ability to be able to use magic scrolls we find in combat. And the bard would pick up some mythology to identify the native flora and fauna. Once they class change into classes that have magical skills, they won't be progressing these skills quite so much anymore. But at least I'll have given them a good foundation in these areas. And then just to progress through the book here, it talks about what the titles are for your characters at certain levels. This has absolutely no impact on the game. It's just all flavor. A bit more of information about some strategies of how to play the game. A bit more in depth than what they had given in the user's manual. Here is the discussion about whether you imported a party, what happens to them. And then the good chunk of the book here is information about all the dungeons, towns, caves, any place that is not a big overworld map. Uh, there is a good amount of overworld to explore, and I bet Mr. Forte has done some touch-ups on the overworld, so while normally I would not explore the entire overworld in a playthrough, I think I will try to fill out the map this playthrough just to see what has been changed. So this is all the kind of text that you would get at any of these various spots on the map, and it tells you exactly what happens if you use a certain item in a certain place, what new text would be generated. So, and then there's always a little frequently asked questions about each of these zones that gives you further hints of what to do in a spot. Wow, just look at that wall of text. Wall of text. I gotta say that the writing for this game was pretty well done. Um, and then we get to the monsters. It does not give us information about like resistances to certain types of magic or effects. Um, but that is a thing you get to figure out through play experience. And then we have every item in the game. Um, what damage it is, what kind of a range it has, if it's a weapon, its hit bonus, whether it's one or two-handed, primary or secondary hands, if it gives you an armor class bonus, and modes, that's for different kinds of attack. There's who can use it by races. You'll notice that some items cannot be used by fairies. In fact, a lot of items that you'll find throughout the game cannot be used by fairies. Weapons and weapons and armor, that is. Standard adventuring stuff can be used by pretty much anyone. Then sex. There are some items that only females can wear. Um, I think there might be only one or two items that only men can wear. But and then there's professions. What class can use certain things? Like here, you see only a bard can use the angel's tongue. That's a magical instrument, which casts bless. And then we've got a couple pages of this because there are a few thousand items in the game. And then we get to the end of the book with some more advertisements and more room for notes. After that, there's the map that came with the game, and that's a very blurry scan of it. And then there is a card for what you do if you want to play using keyboard bindings instead of a mouse. We'll pretty much be using the mouse, a few little keyboard strokes every so often, but not very much of that. And there we go. That is the hint book. And now, because one of my favorite parts of the game is planning out my character progression, I've come up with a little table here of how I'm planning to change my character's classes around as we go through the game. Um, I could go start at a fighter, and I need so many increases of my stats to qualify to be a Valkyrie, and then I need so many increases of my stats to qualify to be a ninja, who needs just 1 point to qualify to go back to a Valkyrie, who needs those points to become a samurai, who needs those points to become a Valkyrie, and so on and so forth. Um, so I've kind of got everything planned out how I would like it all to go. Um, there are a few times when we need quite a few stat increases. I think some of the most difficult is it when we need to get 5 uh, piety or 4 personality. And then there's a few times I think we need 4 speed. Um, so if we do not get those level ups, or rather if we do not get those stat increases when we get a level up, I'll probably be quitting and reloading the game and and trying to redo that level up to get the stat increase we need. Um, I'm anticipating to change character classes at level 9, although I might go up to level 11. Um, and I've just figured out, what point in the game we may uh, make that change. Like what zone did we just finish up before I make a change? The reason I like to finish up a zone before I make a change is once you switch to a new character class, you cannot cast higher level magic spells. I mean, if you learned a high level magic spell, you can still cast it, but you can only cast it at a low power. There's levels of spells, and then there's power of the spell. And you can cast a spell at power 1 through 7. But if you are a new character who knows a high level spell, you can only cast it at power 1. And so once you're fighting the boss of a zone, you don't want to be stuck casting a power 1 spell. You want to be able to cast, your most powerful spells at their highest effectiveness. And so that's why I just kind of went through and figured out where in the game I might want to make my changes. Um, for me, planning out the characters is nearly as much fun as the game. I like making a good plan and then executing it. So there we go. That's just a little bit of background about what's kind of going on behind uh, the gameplay that we're going to see. So I hope everyone has gotten something out of this video here, and we will resume the adventuring in the next one. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.